Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro, where we've been serving it up hot and fresh since 2013, March of 2013. So we've got an anniversary coming up. Well, we'll just celebrate it next week, actually. We'll look forward to having our celebration. You'll get to hear all the fun stuff that we do next week as we celebrate 7 years podcasting the Psalms verse by verse. How fun. And along with that, we have a new book that has come out. And that new book is Uncle Royce's Funeral, an anthology. This is a group of short stories that I've put together. I hope you'll take a moment and go out and buy a copy. It's available right now on Kindle, and very soon it'll be available in paperback. So get a copy for yourself. If you like to read, these are short stories. You can sit down in one sitting and read all these stories. Or, well, you can read one story in a short sitting, and the whole book is not that long, so and there are 9 stories in it. Today we're looking at verses 92 and 93. Yesterday we ended the eternality of the Lord's work, began in 89, went to 91. Now today we begin in 92. We have a switch because now we go from what the Lord has done. He has settled His word in heaven. He's been faithful to all generations and so forth. Now this is about the psalmist. We have the first person show up, and the first person is large and in charge from 92 through 96. Unless thy law had been my delights. So you see now we have this statement. So let me read those for you. Unless thy law had been my delights, I should have perished in mine affliction. I will never forget thy precepts, for with them thou hast quickened me. What we have here in this first person voice is confession and testimony. So we go back and forth. We rock back and forth between confession and testimony, confession and testimony. And then in 94, we'll get to that tomorrow, we have request and reason for the request, and the wicked man shows up again. But you'll notice today we have this back and forth between confession and testimony. Confession starts in the A part of 92. Thy law had been my delight. So he's telling us something here. Something has happened, and the law was there for him. He had been meditating on it. He had been consuming it. He had been studying it. He had been loving it into his heart. And because of that, something occurred. Unless, is how he begins that verse, unless thy law had been my delights, then, of course the then isn't here. Well, actually it is, but it's not the first word. I should then have perished in mine affliction. So here we have affliction show up again. This is the testimony part. This is what the Word of God has done for him. Unless thy law had been my delight, so he's confessing his faith. The law was his delight. And because it was his delight, this is what happened. He didn't perish. Because the law was my delight, I didn't perish in my affliction. So the law preserved him from the perishing. Now look at 93. We have the same thing again, confession, testimony. I will never forget thy precepts. So again, he's telling us something here. The precepts are something that he is always thinking about, working with, studying, loving into his heart. He's not going to forget them. The B part of 93 says, for with them you have quickened me. So again, we have a result. Here's the testimony part. With them you have quickened me, that is, revived me or given me life. So the precepts that he's working into his heart through meditation, memorization, reading, study, so forth, has had an effect on him. God has with them quickened him. So he didn't perish in his affliction because the law was his delight, and the Lord quickened him because he didn't forget the precepts. So confession, testimony, confession, testimony, and then tomorrow we're going to see request. So join me then on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.